How's you going?
All right, welcome back to Plain Sports Podcast, episode 12. We've got a fun one for you. As always, it's me and Brum, and Brandon's back to join us. We're going to talk about OU softball and their road to the Natty that they finally won today. It was a long road. They pushed to game three, but we'll cover, what we thought, the players that were outstanding for the team, and then we'll talk about some college football news that we learned about earlier today. But to start off, like I said, let's just go over the softball team winning their fifth national championship in team history, and I believe is it Patty Gasso's second or third?
I think it's her fourth.
It's our
In
fourth.
her career at OU. So, who, Brum? You want to start off? What do you think of their run here this year?
Yeah, a lot of people have been talking about them with their powder puff schedule, not playing anyone. As soon as they play someone, they're going to struggle, not be able to get past them. It was quite an up and down ride. When they lost that first game against James Madison, I was a little concerned. And then they dropped, obviously, the first one to Florida State. It was a little bit of concern. But I almost think this team was so good that it was almost like they could only beat themselves. If they got uncomfortable, started pressing, trying to, just hit rather than letting it come to them, that's when they started getting themselves beat. Like JMU jumped on them quick in that game one. Florida State jumped on them really quick with Nicole May. I just think they fought through, and G Juarez was incredible through this run. And I just think it's crazy that she didn't really pitch for like 2 weeks leading up to the World Series. And then all of a sudden she starts pitching and she's fresh. And I would imagine Patty Gasso did that on purpose and just left the veteran there to close everything out. Brandon, what was your initial takeaway?
Yeah, no, same. It's like you said about G, it's crazy. And then she ends up winning the World's College or the Women's College World Series MVP. Like she was the most valuable player of the tournament. But yeah, they took the hard route, as you mentioned. Not only did they drop their first game, had to go 4 straight to make it to the Champ Series. Then they also decided, you know what, let's lose game 1 of the Champ Series too. Maybe they just wanted to play as much softball games as they could, and maybe just stretch the season out. But yeah, I mean, overall, really, really a dominant team as they were all season. Last night I was at the game and it kind of had to feel like that was Florida State's national championship, if that makes sense. Like obviously if they lost, they were still okay. They could come back and get us game 3, but it just had to feel like they had to beat us. Last night was their championship game because I don't think there was a chance until we lose today, and then it worked out that way. My question to both of you guys is, can you name a better softball team in history? Is this the greatest softball team ever? I think there's a legit argument for that.
I know the commentators were talking about it after the game. They were talking about how this is possibly the best lineup in softball history. Just obviously, we set the home run record for a single season as a team. I think Alo is one of the best hitters, in history in college softball. And I mean, it's not like she was the only power hitter on the team. We had Kinsey, we had I think Coleman
TR Jennings hit 30, I think.
Coleman, we had a lot of good bats, and I think the entire lineup, like whatever pitcher was going against this team, wasn't going to have a good day, no matter what part of the lineup they're going to face in the inning. So that's why, like, whenever Odyssey Alexander kind of challenged these girls, it was kind of impressive. I know in the first game versus JMU, but yeah, I think that it's going to be. I don't know about the best softball team just because I don't know a lot of softball history, but from what it sounded like, this is definitely going to be one of the best.
Did you see
in a long time.
The stat about the lineup in the world in the tournament at least? So for this tournament, the Women's College World Series, so the lineup their first time through against any pitcher, or the average, I guess, they averaged it was 167 their first time through. So like 100, like that was their batting average. So not great. Like that's not very good at all.
It took them like 2 or 3 cycles through.
They hit 167 the first time through. Then it was 305 the second time through. Then I think 389 the third time through. And in the fourth time through, if they see the same pitcher, it was like 400 plus. Like that's
I did, yeah.
That's ridiculous. Like Which, yeah, I mean, it's. I would stack this team against anybody.
Well, I mean, you think about it. It's incredible that the team, as a team, averaged over 400 for the batting average. I mean, that's more than on average 4 trips to the plate out of every 10 times they're getting on base.
As a team.
As a team, I mean, that's 1 through 9. It's, you typically have a couple good players, that'll average above 400, but to have every single person to average over 400.
It showed last night, they're losing 2-0 early in the game. And the very first run the Sooners get comes from their 8-hole spot. And Jana Johns hit that moon shot.
Mm-hmm.
And I just not a lot of teams in the country, if anybody, had 1 through 9 that had power. And I mean, it was a tough ass lineup.
And I mean, they set the home run record, which, that's been, standing for a long time. And they hit, what was it, 160, I believe, 160, 161. I can't remember what the final tally was.
They broke it last night, right? And then they made it 159 because Jocelyn hit that shot in the 6th that broke the record. And I think it was 158, so 159. And then today, what was it? It was an Ala home run and in Jada.
Mm-hmm.
So 161.
Yeah, 2 solos. Yeah, which is just crazy. I mean, that's a ton of home runs. Yeah. Question is, did they lose those couple games on purpose to make sure they could break it?
That's what I was saying. Maybe they just wanted to extend this.
I think it goes into what Brandon was saying earlier, right when you got up a second ago. The stat that they showed during the broadcast on their batting average, the more they see a pitcher, and it's probably the same for everyone, but it was like a substantial jump for the entire team. Like the lineup, like if they see the same pitcher more than twice, it's kind of over for that girl. Like she's not gonna.
Did you all see what Nicole Mendez said after game 1?
Mm-mm.
The game we lost?
Mm-mm.
So that she was doing their post-game presser or whatever, like every team does. And she literally told the reporter, face to face, she was like, when we lose, we don't lose again. And to say that after dropping game 1, especially in the way they did, being down 7-0, I mean, they kind of got their ass kicked game 1.
Yeah.
And then Nicole Mendez just stone cold, nothing to it. Just, when we lose, we don't lose again. And then they come out and they back it up.
Yeah. No, I mean, I really would go back to they were undefeated going into Georgia, and they lost. I really think that series was a good preview of playing quality competition. Obviously, they saw Georgia later in the World Series tournament. So Georgia was a quality team, obviously. And I think when they lost that game, that was like a wake-up call. Obviously, and then they dropped one to Oklahoma State, which was another World Series team. I mean, they didn't lose a game to a team that did not make the World Series.
But both of those losses that you bring up are, I mean, that's an example of what Nicole Mendez is saying. And it's true in both of those games too. We lose to Georgia, come back 30 minutes later, run rule them, lose game 1 against OSU in Stillwater, come back, win 2 straight, win the series, win the Big 12 regular season title, play them again a week later in the Big 12 tournament, run rule them.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's incredible what this team is and what they've done. And what's even scarier to think about is Alo's got another year. I mean, I think she's at 88 home runs now on her career. I can't remember the exact.
And I think, the all-time record's 95. She's gonna break that record and run away with it.
Smoke it.
Yeah. No, I mean, which is just crazy. I mean, she's gonna be triple digits for sure. Yeah. And no, it's incredible. And then you got to also think about the defense this team had. I mean, they had a few errors in the World Series, and sometimes the stage and the scenario kind of gets a little bit, you can't be perfect every time, but the defense is a big deal. Those throwing errors that cost you runs, that cost you games, they didn't really have the critical ones that really came back to bite them. It was just an all around. I would say it's probably the greatest softball team. I don't,
in my opinion, I agree.
Yeah. And I can't say I've been watching softball for 20 years or anything like that, but the last 5 years I've been keeping up with it. It's pretty incredible what they were able to do.
I saw a tweet from some OU insider talking about the softball game or softball team and just everything in general. What's scary is most of this team, I think actually all the bats, if they wanted to, can return. I think the only people that we are guaranteed to lose if they choose, or no, guaranteed is Sale and G, which does hurt because those were the two aces, all season long. But, Jocelyn Allo is a senior. She can come back next year because of the COVID thing. It's the same thing with Jana Johnson. She's a senior. Kenzie Hansen, I think, is a senior, but they could both come back if they choose to.
Kenzie's not a senior.
Oh, well,
yeah.
This team, man. If they can pitch again next year, they're going to be right there again.
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy to think about. We had the National Freshman Player of the Year in TRA Jennings, but then we had the runner-up in Jada Coleman. I mean, it's just like, who has two freshmen, number one and number two, and then you have the National Player of the Year as a separate one. It's just, yeah, like you said, pitching is going to be the biggest deal, and obviously Nicole May. I mean, she was just a freshman.
Jerry was texting me too. Yeah. I think we've got some girl coming in next year who's like number one pitcher in the class.
Like Patty Gasso's never going to let this team get down again. It's just going to be a matter of just retooling every year.
It's a reload, not a rebuild thing with OU softball.
Yeah. Yep. And people are going to want to transfer in, especially, the transfer portal I know has always been for softball, you can transfer and you don't have to sit out, because that was just for, I believe, like football and basketball, and that has since changed now. But, there might be a few transfers that are going to be on the market here in this offseason. So she might pick up a transfer like G Juarez a few years ago, and that she could turn into something as an ace pitcher as well. It's a shame that Odyssey Alexander doesn't have any eligibility left, because she would be a prime target to get her to transfer in.
Yeah, that would have been cool.
Yeah,
the only thing we need in the portal is pitching and maybe right field. I think Mendy's gone. Yeah. She's she plays for Team Mexico in the Olympics. She'll probably get drafted to some pro softball team, and it's over for her. But I mean, I think she's also a redshirt senior, just like G and Shannon Sale. But pitching in right field, what else does this team? I mean, they're going to be nasty next year too.
Yeah,
and it's a luxury whenever Gasso pinch hit Lindsay Elam, I think her name was. Mm-hmm. She was a senior, but she was a 350 hitter off the bench.
And Grace Green, same thing.
Yeah, one other girl was
Grace Green, who's an All-American on the bench.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, so even if they don't have a natural right fielder, you throw someone out there that's an athlete that can feel the ball, hit 300. Okay, good enough. You can start for us.
I mean, the whole team is so deep, and so not only Grace Green, Lindsay Elam hitting 350 plus going off the bench. You got Riley Boone off the bench, who runs like a freaking 4.41 it seems out there.
Yeah,
she lays a bunt down, and if it gets down, she's safe.
Yeah. No, and then what's also awesome is they're going to build a new softball stadium, basically 50% bigger, going from like 1,900 seats to going up to 3,000, and state-of-the-art training facilities. And I mean, we're going to have some of the best training facilities in the country, one of the best coaches ever. I don't know why you wouldn't want to come play if you're a top high school softball player.
It's definitely well-deserved by them too. They've been dominant for so long, and they've always been in these really small facilities that, to be honest, they were really them in gymnastics were like OU's, top athletic programs. Obviously football is always great, but like these teams win consistently and get far into their postseason. So it's about time that they get some recognition from boosters and donors to get them some new facilities and like you said, a world-class training facility.
Yeah. No, I mean, that's all I've really got. It's exciting. I mean, the future's obviously bright. They've got great recruits coming in, very young team. No reason why they won't be back in the World Series, in the tournament next year. You never know. We'll definitely keep up with any transfers, and it's exciting. I would almost argue that these playoffs for the World Series, they were more exciting than the NBA playoffs, I watched more
I
softball
don't think
than
it's even
NBA.
close. Yeah, 100%. I've done the same thing.
Yeah,
And
I mean,
granted, the Heat lost, and I'm a huge Heat fan, so maybe that turned a little bit to it. But the softball team, I mean, they are fun to watch. If you just turn in and watch them, they're energetic. They bring all the energy. They're hype for each other. It's an exciting team to watch, and they score, and they're fun.
Speaking
Yeah, it's a
of
passion.
showing passion, have you guys been seeing some reporters complaining about that OU's
No, not some
compassion?
reporters.
It's
That
one individual
that one
idiot.
guy.
And he said it's
From
because it's
Florida State Atlanta.
classless that they celebrate every routine fly out. It's like, bro, they're just playing. They're showing emotion.
And some
this
of the
was
routine
baseball,
flies
who
he's talking
cares?
about. Y'all see that play Donahue made and left yesterday?
Yeah, it's not routine.
Nothing
She had
routine
to
about
jump up
that.
for that shit.
Yeah,
And he was
it's
silent
just-
game one. And Florida State did the exact same shit as us because they were winning.
That's
They're
just
going to be high-fiving each other and clapping and jumping around. And
like the celebration. It just seems to be like a part of softball. Like that type of celebration, like continuously, like always, clapping
Agreed.
for your teammates. And that's just every team does that. It's not special to Oklahoma. This guy's just
this is
complaining
literally the
because
championship
Oklahoma is
series.
winning.
And it's the championship series. Yeah, both teams are going to be excited to be there. They're going to be excited when they're doing well. That
Yeah.
guy, that's one of the coldest takes I've ever seen.
Yeah, it's just like one of those things. If you don't like it, then beat us. I mean, it's simple as that. Then there's at the end of the day, you get the last laugh. But obviously, Florida State did.
Well, yeah, he tweeted some
Yeah.
dumb shit yesterday too. Like, I just always found it was more fitting to wait till it's over to celebrate, and tomorrow I'll tell you why. So today I looked at his Twitter, nothing. He's not. He didn't explain why it's better to wait till the end to celebrate. I wonder
I
why.
probably would have done it if Florida State won, but obviously the better
Sure.
team ended up winning. Yeah, like Jose said, not every sport is like softball with the celebrations. That's like specific to softball. I mean, every team, they're always chanting and doing whatever in the dugout. I mean, that's just part of their sport, and it's just if you don't like it, then don't watch. I mean, it's as simple
Or
as
like
that.
you said, if you do watch, hope your team beats us, because we
Yeah.
were pretty quiet game one because you beat us, so you win. Hats off to you. If we're beating your ass, we're gonna be doing shit, and that is what it is.
I'd love to hear this guy's take on male sports, because guys are a lot more competitive when it comes to that kind of stuff. Like the girls in softball, it seems like they're just hyping each other up for your team. But with guys, like any sport, basketball, baseball, football, you're clapping in people's faces like you suck.
Yeah.
Like,
Anybody who dunks on anybody ever is going to flex. I don't care if it's the first quarter, it's the first score of the game. You posterize somebody to make it 2-0, you're gonna flex on them. And the game's by no means over, but that's it. You're gonna. It's the coldest take I've ever seen from an expert.
From an expert, quote unquote.
He's verified.
Expert.
Someone needs to check why this guy is verified, because that kind of take doesn't come
absolutely
that has a check mark on his Twitter.
Yeah. So yeah, other than that, I think we're good to go.
I forget why I owe you guys 2 beers tonight, but here is.
You said Oklahoma was going to go undefeated.
Yeah, I was going to say.
This is an Anthem Brewing. I think it's Oklahoma.
It is. It is a
called
craft
the
brewery in
Golden
Oklahoma.
One. It's a blonde beer. It's pretty good.
That's going to be tough to chug, bud.
So I poured it into this here solo cup. So this will be the first one.
Down the hatch.
Down the hatch.
All right. So while he chugs, I'll go ahead and get into the next topic here. So today, the College Football Committee announced that when they meet, I believe it's tomorrow for sure, sometime this week or next week, they are going to discuss a playoff expansion to 12 teams. I think an expansion has been something that people have talked about for a long time. Yeah, pretty much after the first year, I think, because it's always, the at-large teams, always a discussion on who should be the most deserving 4th seed. So it's definitely going to be interesting to watch what the decision they come to. What's your thoughts on what could potentially happen and what you would like to happen for the discussions that they're going to come up here? We'll start with Brum.
Well, I'm excited that they're evaluating expansion, but 12 teams might be a touch much. Like a touch too many. I personally think
teams like Oklahoma State might get in with 12. You're just letting dog shit in.
I'm a big fan of 6 teams. I like the idea
Why is
of
it so hard? 6. You get
5.
5 power conference winners, 1 at large. Cancel Christmas. That's it.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that way you don't ever leave a Power 5 team out. You also would allow the top 2 seeds to get playoff buys, which would be a huge incentive to get style points beat down of, all the teams throughout your schedule and do that. That would be huge.
Yeah. Why? You'll be the freshest team in the tournament.
Yeah. So I think that would be the better format. And that way, you have 2 or 3 and 6, and then 4 and 5 play. And then obviously the 1 seed takes the highest remaining seed, and then 2 gets whatever's left over, and then just finish it out that way. But the 12 teams, it would make it interesting because you've got 5 Power 5 winners. Obviously, I would imagine you're going to include 1 group of 5 teams. So you've got 6 teams like we discussed. So you've got 6 other spots to fill out. And in theory, that would be
you're filling it with mediocre talent all around, awful teams. Not awful, but I mean, dumb.
And
it's a waste of time.
I hear your opinion, but on the other side of the token, why do we do March Madness? Why do we love March Madness? Okay,
and that's
no. Hold
on. And here's what I'm going to say, because I agree with you on the 6-team thing. So here's my thing on it. Okay, that's fine. You want to talk about those dumb Cinderella teams that do crazy shit? First of all, basketball is a different game than football. All right, it's a fact, especially at the collegiate level. In the NFL, yeah, the worst NFL team can beat the best NFL team. You catch them on it's any given Sunday, right? Yeah. College football, that same thing is not true. Missouri State Bears, that football program, will never in a million years ever catch Alabama on a Saturday.
Well, obviously, when are they ever going to play?
It's the same thing with bad FBS teams. So if you want to make an argument for the smaller schools that are actually pretty good, your Boise States or Cincinnati's, I think you do a 6-team playoff that me and you agreed on, Brum, and you do your Power 5 winners and 1 group of 5, the best group of 5. So last year it would have been Alabama, Clemson, Ohio State. Who was 4?
It was last year. Wasn't that Oklahoma?
No, we weren't in last year.
We weren't in the
playoffs. I was thinking the year before. It was Notre Dame, right?
Yes.
Notre Dame. Okay, so last year would have been, in my opinion, my college football playoff. What it should have been. Actually, no, because
it would have just been the Power 5 conference champs.
So yeah, your Power 5 winners, and then you have a debate between Notre Dame and Cincinnati. And I think the committee, in my book, you put Cincinnati in because we've all seen Notre Dame get in, and they're dog shit. They get their ass kicked. So yeah, I agree with you on the group of 5. Do it to where it's the best, the 5 Power 5, and 1 group of 5 / 1 group of 5, and you debate that.
I mean, I hear you, but there, just because you think there's no chance doesn't mean that it would never happen.
Also,
are you telling me Coastal Carolina as a 12 seed in a 12-team tournament is ever going to beat?
But hold on, you're looking at it in the short term. You're looking at next year and the year after. The more teams start getting into the playoffs, recruiting is going to expand a lot more. Like these kids aren't going to exclusively be looking at, okay, I have to go to Alabama if I'm going to be a playoff team.
Okay, yeah, and I agree.
So they'll have more.
And here's where I'll raise it to because that is a great point. That's a great point. Yeah, obviously recruiting is going to get easier at Cincinnati, at Coastal Carolina, schools like that. However, who's going to be consistently winning these tournaments? Alabama, Clemson, Oklahoma, Ohio State. So if you're Jose, pretend you're a 5-star athlete, all right? You're the best in the country at what you do. If you have offers from Alabama, Clemson, Oklahoma, Ohio State, Michigan, all the big timers, no matter what, you're going to there over.
Yeah, but we're seeing 5-star athletes now go to USC. USC hasn't been relevant or good in years.
But it's still a huge program.
Right, but you're saying, like, why not pick a school
And
that
you're right. And so
be in
every now and
automatically in the
again, some
playoffs.
kid from Southern California will end up going
But-
to USC, or
but
some
that's
kid
now,
from Vegas will
right?
go to USC.
But that's
But
right now. Like if the committee's going to look at it and like, how is this going to affect football now and in the next 10 years? And if I don't think 12 is right.
Absolutely stupid.
We talked about this before. I think 12 is just a negotiating point. I think they're going to come in with 12 and they're going to negotiate down to like 8. I think 8 is better, but 8 or 6. I think that's
could settle on 8.
Because I don't think in college football anyone should get a bye. Like a bye shouldn't exist in college, because like you said, like why are you going to give them a rest? Because of style points? Because that's kind of how it is.
If you do a 6-team tournament,
yeah, but style points
if you do a 6-team tournament, 1 and 2 gets a bye, and that's your incentive.
But what I'm saying is 1 and 2 are going to be 1 and 2 because they just won by more, or because they won more convincingly. Like you're just doing it more subjectively at that point. So that's why, like in the NFL, like there's a system as to why they're the 1, the 2, the 3, the 4, the 5, and the 6, and now a 7.
Hold on.
But in college football, that's why the 4 is always up for debate, because it's okay. We have 2 1-loss teams, or a 1-loss team and 2 2-loss teams, but the 2 2-loss teams love to be in more. So like, let's not have that situation again. I think that's what they're trying to eliminate, is like this conversation of the most deserving, and making it 8 is just like, okay, we have a criteria, 5 Power 5 champs. If Notre Dame is good enough, they'll get in. We'll have a really good group of 5 team, and then there's going to be one at-large spot for like a Georgia, because I think last year, the year we made it last, Georgia
A&M was the best team last year. Outside of the 4, or outside of. So
but you know what I'm saying, right?
4 than OU than A&M.
Yeah, so you know what I'm saying. Like, there's always that one team that someone says they should have been the 4 seed. So like that's where they can get brought in, and there's more of a mix.
No, the only thing that I'm going to disagree with you on that you mentioned, because I think you brought up some good points. I agree. But I think with 6 teams, and I'm always going to back to 6 teams, that's the best way to do it in my mind. And Brum fought for a 6 team earlier, didn't fight, but he said a 6 team works because there's an incentive for a bye, and that's where you disagreed. You said I don't think anybody should have a bye. Let's play each other, because there's no real differences. Like how do you know who the best is? Are you saying like the last 4 or 5 years there's not a clear cut 1 and 2? Like last year, Clemson and Alabama were a clear cut 1 and 2. Obviously, it didn't work out for Clemson. They lost to Ohio State. But going into like a tournament setting like that, there's no doubt they're 1 and 2.
Yeah. But I'm just saying it shouldn't be decided.
It's a clear-cut thing. Like
if we have 3 undefeated teams, who's going to be the one that's left out?
The 2 who are the best. That you like. It's sometimes it's that easy. Just like, okay, obviously, yeah, there's 3 undefeated teams. But if Alabama's undefeated, if OU's undefeated, and then fucking Florida's undefeated, likely it's going to be Alabama and OU, because they're probably the best undefeated teams.
Yeah, but you don't want to leave it up to a subjective issue, because now you have Florida fans saying, okay, well, we were also undefeated. Why can't we be the 2? Like, why not boot one of the other teams? I'm just trying to get rid of the subjective.
Well, and going back to the recruiting deal, is Jose's right. It would be down the road, because right now, if you're
I agree. I said he's right on that. But at the end of the day, if you're the best in the country, you're still going to the powerhouses.
Well, but here's the deal, though. Right now, players, if you want to go play for national championship and you're one of the best teams, you're going to go to Ohio State, Alabama, Oklahoma, Clemson, and Georgia, and that's about it. And maybe Texas A&M's kind of 50-50.
Texas is going to land those kids every now and again still. Michigan's going to land those kids.
But what I'm saying is when you got – and when you can get into the tournament and you're a California kid, or if you're a Michigan kid, you're like, well, we could be a top 12 team. There's no reason why we couldn't. They're going to be like, well, I can get more playing time. I can get into the tournament. I can do a bunch of things and stay home, or stay wherever my actual dream school is.
No, absolutely. And I absolutely agree with those on that.
So
I didn't think of that.
So down the road in 5 years, when all these kids are actually picking and grouping up and going to, the USC, the Michigan, Oregon, all this stuff.
You mentioned USC, Michigan, Oregon. Those are still 3 huge programs.
But they're not.
I'm saying Coastal Carolina is going to make a 12-team tournament one day. Cincinnati would make a 12-team tournament. No one's going there still. Those teams are not.
You're going to include them in the top 6 anyway.
Yeah, they're
So
objectively already in. So it's
yeah, they're already
good.
in. So, but
Maybe
if you give them
they beat
5
Notre
years,
Dame out in 1 year. Last year, I would pick Cincinnati over Notre Dame. That's a 1-year instance.
I agree, but you're only looking at the small schools. There's a lot of big programs that can't make it to the tournament now, and potentially in a 16 format because there's so much subjectiveness, or they don't have the TV time. Like you guys never see the Pac-12 because you're 2 hours ahead, and sometimes 1 or 2 hours.
And
you're 2 hours ahead from them.
I think you made a great point, Jose, that I didn't see. Is yes, recruiting is going to improve for some of those schools. But at the end of the day, the powerhouses are going to remain the powerhouses, and they're going to keep beating the lesser schools. That's not changing.
But
so what the hell is the point in making a? Do you want to make a 60-team
how long has
tournament?
Clemson been a powerhouse? How long has Clemson been a powerhouse? I'll ask you.
What, 7 years, 8 years?
Okay, so why couldn't another school like Oregon pop up and become a true powerhouse?
I think they could. I mentioned
they can't. They can't right now. They can't right now.
Oregon's already proved it.
They can't
Oregon
become a
won
perennial
national championship before the playoff.
They can't become a perennial powerhouse like a Clemson or an Alabama until there's more spots because of the TV time.
They've already won a national title.
Yeah, but it's been years since Oregon.
Yeah, it's been years.
When was the last time? 2012?
We're almost coming up on 10 years. You think any of the recruits that are coming up?
It's been 21 years for OU, and we're still a powerhouse.
Yeah, but because we're relevant now, we're still going into the playoffs consistently. We get a lot of TV time.
You guys are talking about.
Well, and then I'll also
those teams are always going to make it. In a 16, no, because in a 16 playoff, is Oregon not a part of the Pac-12?
Yeah, so they would have
Pac-12 a Power 5 conference.
What we're saying is
the Pac-12 a Power 5 conference? They'd be in no matter what.
Listen, if they win, yes, but what we're saying is the more spots there are, the more exposure there is. So like Pac-12 teams are kind of getting screwed now because of their time zone, which sucks for them. That's just kind of a natural thing that they have to deal with. But if you can get Pac-12 teams more like a morning game for them, which becomes a middle of the day game for most of the country, like you'll start seeing more recruits watching them on TV. We'll start seeing Oregon and USC and Washington get more recruits that are mainly going to go to Alabama.
And that's the same thing for Cincinnati and Coastal Carolina. And
in my final
but guess
point,
what? They're not going to beat the powerhouses.
Then I'll ask you this: would you rather lose a game, a powder puff game against Western Carolina or Alabama playing the Citadel to gain a playoff game? What would you rather watch? Week 2, would you rather watch us play Western Carolina?
It's going to be the same result, whether it's Alabama versus Citadel or Alabama versus.
Yeah, but now we're getting rid of the Carolina, getting some good football.
Yeah, would you not rather
it's gonna be
watch?
A blowout.
No, it's not.
It's not.
We lost to Iowa State with Baker Mayfield, and that was supposed to be a blowout. Like shit happens in football, in all sports. So that's why you play the game.
I was going to say, so, and hypothetically, the way last season ended, if it was a 12-team deal, Oklahoma would be playing Georgia. Do you not think
in the first round would have been the first round?
Yeah, that would be the first round. We finished 6th.
Yeah, that would have been a close game. Who's the 12 seed?
Indiana.
They're going to get their dicks beat off sideways.
Yeah, but you're looking at 1 and 12, and even in college basketball, 1 and 16 is never close. But there's a reason to play it. It's a tournament.
12 teams in a college football tournament is ridiculous, and they'll never compete ever. A 12 seed will never compete ever. So why are we wasting?
I want you to go on record. You'd rather watch Alabama and the Citadel than Alabama and Indiana.
I mean, either one's gonna suck.
Well, it would at least have some sort of more relevance than the Citadel.
No,
it might.
You'll think that until it's 27-0 at the end of the first quarter.
What about like Notre Dame, Cincinnati? Wouldn't that one been kind of cool?
That one would have been exciting to watch. You're only looking at one. You're looking at the top and the bottom. There's.
I'm looking at this.
Teams in the middle.
Never going to win that tournament ever in the history of college.
A 16. So why is it in college basketball that we have 16?
Because a 16 seed in college basketball can beat a 1 seed.
It's only happened one time in history. One time.
And then
one time.
Okay. How many times does a 15 beat a 2? That's not one time. That's happened.
So why can't? So you're saying that an 11 can't beat
but they're going to shake
2?
shit up. They're going to shake shit up.
Who's
a 12 seed never wins one game ever.
But who was the 2 last year? Can you get can you go through the matchups that would have happened?
It would be Ohio State and Coastal Carolina.
If you're
Okay.
telling me the game's
No,
competitive
no,
for
no,
1
no. It
second,
would
you're
be
wrong.
no. Ohio State, BYU. My bad.
If you're telling me that game's competitive,
Yeah, but
you're
guess
wrong.
what? You know how many eyes would be on that? Because you have Zach Wilson for BYU versus Justin Fields at Ohio
So
State.
we're gonna watch
And
Ohio
Brandon,
State beat them by
the
600 points.
It wouldn't matter because now you have more eyes, more money going to the NCAA and those
it's a
schools.
waste of time.
It's not a
and
waste
you
of
know
time.
what? The only reason why you know the 1 in 16 and the 2 in the 15 is because it happens. Would you if
Why?
we would have not had the tournament, would
In
you
the
have thought
history of
Oral
time out, hold
Roberts
on.
would have beat
in
Ohio
the
State?
history
1
of college
second,
football,
time out.
it would never happen.
Why do we know
Ever.
Porter Moser?
Ever.
Why do we let's say close to home? Why do we know Porter Moser? Because he took a team that was not good in the college basketball tournament, and
Basketball
he
is a
teams
different
that
game
were
than
relevant.
football.
It's not
Basketball
that
is a
different.
game
It's
than
a
football.
game. It's a game. You play the game. Shit happens in all sports, and that could happen in football, especially when you expand.
Coastal Carolina in the history of their program will never beat Ohio State.
You don't know that.
You
it's a
take
fact. Ever.
you take such
you're looking the next
extremes.
3. You're looking at like the now. Again, like you have to look at what this could impact for football later.
It's a
Like
waste
this will
of
show
time.
like
If you
how
guys
good
want
of a
12
recruit
teams,
are
let's
you
just
really?
make it fucking everybody gets in, right? Let's just play a huge tournament.
12 teams is nothing.
No,
How many
everybody
college,
deserves
how
it.
many
That's
college
what you guys
football
are saying.
programs are there in the country?
There's
Everybody
like
should get
100.
All
There's
of
like
them.
160
You're
something.
you're
FBS
going to
teams.
an extreme.
But they should all get in.
Yeah. Okay. Well, anyway, it obviously we're
anything can
very
happen.
passionate.
So okay, so then
Very-
you're saying
Anything
that
can
we
happen,
so
so
then
we
why
should
the
let all
fuck
of it in.
why do we have March Madness? Let's just go straight to the Final Four. There's no point in having the rest.
No, because a
But-
15 beats a 2.
Every once in a
And
while,
it shakes shit up.
it doesn't happen that often. You're not seeing every year 15 is not going to take a 2 every year.
Yeah, we'll discuss this next week. It's a very passionate topic. We got heated. This is a good episode. You guys should watch it. Yeah, all right. What do you any closing thoughts, guys?
You just take things to the extreme level and you don't look at the whole picture. But anyway, we'll
think it should
continue
be
this discussion.
an 18 playoff at the end of the
Yeah,
discussion for the actual committee.
6, 8, whatever, that's fine.
I'm saying is you're arguing for the whole country to be in.
But
We're just saying that it's an expansion isn't ridiculous.
Missouri State can probably fucking roll Alabama.
Missouri
Hey,
State's
finish your
not
last
gonna get
beer.
this. Yeah,
finish your last beer.
We have 10
You've
seconds
got-
or something like that. Hurry up.
Yeah.
All right. While he's finishing it, we appreciate you watching it. We hope you enjoyed. Make sure to like, comment, and go
If you
follow
watch
us
this
on
episode,
Twitter.
you're going to enjoy it.
See you next week.
See you next week.